Hey, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. And today we are talking about marketing strategies, specifically what you can do if you've just launched a new store. We're going to be talking a bit about going into a new launch. What are some of the things you might want to be aware of? What are some of the things you're going to want to do? And it's coming up right after this. So you've just launched a whole new store. That is so freaking exciting, man. Or you're at least in this planning stage and you're thinking about launching a new e-commerce store. Now, if you're not familiar with me, I put out a lot of YouTube videos. I have a whole career when it comes to helping people launch projects on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all different types of crowdfunding. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that at the end if you want. But when it comes to your new online store, I feel there's a lot of confusion over what you should do. And specifically, you maybe are just right now in the planning stages, right? You're just kind of wondering like, what have I gotten myself into, right? What am I gonna have to do later once I actually launch this thing and public people, those weird people around the world, can actually stumble on my site and maybe buy my product or maybe not, or maybe leave horrible reviews, right? Oh gosh, the reviews, all the haters. So I kind of want to just relax you a tiny bit, introduce you to some of the things that I think will work for you. And we can talk about some of the other ways that you can maybe even have a bigger launch if you're planning the launch of a new e-commerce product. Okay, so let's talk about marketing. So marketing is one of those words that a lot of people only know about because they've maybe seen a TV show on it, or they've seen, Mad Men, or they've seen the career portrayed in the movies or something like that. And they have a sense of like what they think marketing is, which usually people think promotion, right? Or you might think branding, or you might think direct response marketing or outbound marketing or paid marketing. There's so many different forms of marketing. And I think that's why it can be quite paralyzing for you as a new e-commerce entrepreneur. It's like, I don't even know where to get started here, right? I don't know what to focus on. And if the number one thing that I want to help you with today in this video is to first figure out what you should focus on depending on where you are. And then also some of the strategies and the tactics that are going to help get you to where you want to be. And this is kind of a formula. I wrote the book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. And there's also a formula that comes with marketing in general when it comes to e-commerce products. I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that, and we'll get into that just now. Okay. So I'm going to start first with branding. Okay, so what is branding? Branding is really, in my opinion, just the way that people feel and what they think of when they consider your company or your product. So branding can go a lot of different ways, but usually it's going to come into play when it comes to color, when it comes to the actual form factor or the ergonomic look and feel. For example, Apple products, right, are usually very well designed, and that made them stand out for many years before other competitors came along like Samsung, etc. So you maybe also have the design of the actual product, you have the colors, you have the fonts on the actual e-commerce page, and that also extends to packaging. So when someone actually goes through the experience of going to your store, and I actually would think of it, I would compare the e-commerce store online to actually a physical store in person. It's actually a really great comparison in my opinion. So when you go, let's just say, into a physical store, how do you feel? Well, you're going to feel a certain way based on the lighting. You're going to feel a certain way based on the way the products are positioned. Do you have one handbag which is on this pedestal and then you have lighting around it? It's probably going to be an expensive product versus a bunch of handbags just kind of crammed together in the back of the store, probably not going to be as expensive, right? So we use branding as a way to set an expectation for the consumer. And if you ever go and you walk, let's just say you're in the suburbs or in middle America, or even in a metropolitan area, you go and you walk into a mall, and you just go and walk by the stores. Every single store has different inside feel, different colors, different textures, different fonts with even the logo, right? And when you go into the store, there's also a bit of a different vibe there. And you kind of want to think of that almost as an analogy that every single online store has that exact same functionality or way in which to influence the emotions of the customers. The only difference is you have a little bit less to deal with in some ways and more to deal with in other ways. So it's a great apt analogy. If you just go to your local mall or anywhere there, go and just, as a consumer, be an observer. Go into these different stores, record how you feel, and think about what are the different choices that this person made in the store layout, in the colors, and all that kind of stuff that caused me to feel that particular way. Or even when you're walking into the store and you look at the display cases, oh, what's catching my attention? How are they catching my attention? Go into Barnes & Noble, right? What are the books that are out there at the front, the ones that are most likely to buy? Or what are the impulse purchases when I'm going and I'm checking out? Think through it a tiny bit. It's really gonna help you. So let's now transition that to more like the online store arena. So first of all, you're gonna obviously have the colors when it comes to a website, the fonts, everything that we're just going over before. But in addition, when someone's coming to that site and they actually make a purchase, you also then have the branding of the actual physical packaging when that product arrives on someone's doorstep, right? So not only do you have the whole environment or interface when someone is actually coming to the site, which is kind of like the brochure or like they're kind of walking in, it follows through towards the end of the process when they actually own the product. And in addition, when they're using the product, different design choices. So for example, think of like LaCroix, right? I love to drink LaCroix, the bubbly fizzy soda that doesn't have any calories. And one of the things I noticed about that is you can see the color of the label. So like if you drink the orange LaCroix, right? The tangerine one, it has an orange label. It makes you feel like you're drinking an orange drink. But if you pour it out, you'll see that the water is just clear, right? So it's all psychological. And that's really part of brand building, is it creates that expectation, that feeling, that consumption experience. So the first thing for you as an e-commerce owner, most e-commerce store owners are first going to think about branding because it is the most obvious, right? What is the relationship you're going to have with the customer is going to come down to your actual store look and feel, the theme, the way that the font reads, the colors, and then continuing on to the actual experience with the packaging and the way the product looks, if that makes sense. Now that branding component is also going to create an expectation. So whenever someone then buys the product from you and they have this experience, they're going to expect that same or a similar level of experience going forward. So for example, if you go into Bed Bath & Beyond, right, you go into that store, you're going to expect them to have certain types of products. If they release another product, right, you're going to expect that to be in a certain kind of niche or genre. Or if you go into one of these really ritzy stores in the mall that has like plush pillows and like the things you didn't even know you needed, one of those like things with the ball and it like goes back and forth, I forget what those are called. Those things an ornament you might put on your desk, right? That kind of stuff. You're going to expect the store to have a certain caliber or type of product. So whenever someone buys something from you, that's actually an experience for them to have another experience similar to that. And they're going to be expecting that. If it's an Apple product, an Apple car that's coming out, the customer base is going to expect a certain level of quality, security, design elements, right? There's that expectation which comes from the previous expectations that were set when they were buying the product. So branding is super important. However, it's actually not the most important thing, honestly, when you're just getting started with a new e-commerce store, but I'll tell you what that is in just a second. Okay, so you can have the most beautiful fancy logos in the world, you can have an incredible corporate headquarters, you can have a beautiful desk that you sit at, right, a leather chair, you got those business cards, like nifty business cards where people can scan QR codes, you can get all that stuff, all the amazing branding, but you can also not even sell one product, right? So it's not as much about branding as you might think it is. As you get going and as you grow and as you get more and more customers, it becomes more and more about branding, because branding is really where the relationship with the customers comes in, right? However, when you're just getting started, the brand doesn't mean anything. Let's be honest, there's no whatsoever relationship with the customer. No one has yet bought from you. You can't have a relationship. The brand building experience really happens once someone has had a positive experience with your brand and a relationship, which then causes them to buy again and again and again from you or recommend it to their friends. So what matters most, right? So there are these different components of marketing. So brand building is one of them. The other is traffic, customer inflow. And it's kind of difficult to kind of separate the two, right? Because on the one hand, you want to have a quality product and you want to have really great looking packaging and design. On the other hand, I can't tell you the number of times where I've seen an incredible product that just didn't sell. Marketing in the early days matters a heck of a lot more than just the product. And a better marketed product is always going to beat another product that maybe is a little bit superior, but that just wasn't marketed very well. Like a viral, incredible marketing campaign that's delivering a river of traffic to your store is going to convert a heck of a lot better than maybe you have a killer product, but no one knows about it, right? And this is always super frustrating. And I empathize with you. I think it is frustrating, man. It's so annoying, like the fact that you could have a better product, but someone who has a better marketing strategy is going to beat you, right? In corporate America, in small business, in whatever kind of realm you want to talk about when it comes to economics. And that's just how it is. And I'm sorry that that's the case. You know, as a designer, as an engineer, you obviously deserve to get your product out there. And that's what I'm trying to help you with when it comes to this video and some of my other content that is out there. So what does matter? The number one thing, the holy grail, is how are you going to get attention? initially, how are you going to get eyeballs on this store? How are you going to get people checking it out? How are you going to get them even curious maybe about considering buying your product? The most important thing for any new store that you just released is, we got an amazing store, but we don't have any foot traffic, right? Think about that. If you opened a new store in a town and there's no foot traffic, it can be beautiful, it can be incredible, you can have the best products, but if there's no foot traffic, you're not gonna make any sales, right? So you gotta get that foot traffic. It is so freaking important. And thankfully, there are a few different ways in which you can do that. So this is sort of the next part of your marketing strategy, is you wanna think about, how are people going to discover my products on the store? And more specifically, what are the different channels and the different avenues to be able to do that? Now, I'll make it really simple for you. There are basically two ways that you can go. One is you can use money. The other is you can use your time. So you have to decide which one you want to use. Usually, if you're more established in your career, you probably prefer to use your money over your time. If you're just getting started, or you're just looking to not invest very much yet in your e-commerce venture, you're probably going to be using more of your time, right? That's just kind of how it is. But it's this balance. And for some people out there, most, I'd say, really successful business owners are doing both. Like if you look at someone, I don't know, like Elon Musk, right? And he's doing tons and tons of hard work and putting tons and tons of money into his business. And that's really the best of both worlds. But usually when you get started, you probably have one or the other, because you're a little bit more uncertain. So when it comes to that, let's first talk about money. So when I say money, what do I mean by that? I mean, by putting money behind your marketing, you're doing things like running paid advertisements. You're paying influencers to post on your behalf. You're maybe even doing a press release or trying to get the word out to specific industry trade journals or reporters or bloggers or podcasters or YouTubers like myself, right? You're trying to use money in order to get attention. Attention in this phase is the number one thing that we are trying to get. And in this way, you're using money to get attention. Now, the cool thing about using money is that it's almost guaranteed. Like if you place an ad and you do it, at least at I'd say benchmark level, you're probably more likely than not guaranteed to get at least some traffic, right? So if you're using funds or using money in order to promote your marketing, doing Facebook ads, doing Google ads, doing Pinterest ads, maybe even doing like a TikTok or something like that, or paying influencers or YouTubers or podcasters, or anything like that. If you're using money, you're gonna get attention, right? But then kind of comes the next question, which is, how much is it costing me? Who are those people? Are they relevant? Do they suffer from the problem that my product solves? Are they curious? Are they interested? Are they converting? So there are a whole different set of questions that I want to get into next. It's kind of the next segment with this whole marketing video. But first of all, you have paid marketing. Then you have organic marketing. So what is organic marketing? I like to say organic marketing is the kind of marketing where it's free, quote unquote, but you're really just putting in a lot of your work, okay? So organic marketing is actually how I got started in my business, but organic marketing really just comes down to social media, posting on social media and different social media channels, and trying to build up, for example, your Instagram, your Facebook, if you're on TikTok, right? Old days, I guess, using Snapchat, it's not really as much of a thing anymore. Using different social media channels in order to promote your brand, in order to promote your products, in order to get people interested, to engage your community base. That's the number one way when it comes to organic marketing, is using social media, and it's free. It's available to everyone, right? So you really don't have an excuse. What are some of the other things when it comes to organic marketing? Well, another one would just be simple email marketing. Like on your site, being able to capture people's emails who maybe aren't interested yet in buying, and being able to then send them emails about different offers that you have, about different promotions. And let's be honest, you've probably gotten those types of emails before in your inbox from different stores you maybe subscribe to. You're like, I don't know if I want to buy this now, right? You can also use organic marketing. In addition, this is kind of when viral marketing campaigns play into the mix, although it's also kind of mixed a little bit nowadays with paid marketing as well. So, or let's say like you have a really incredible product which you put out there on your social media, and you have tons of people that are sharing it, liking it. Maybe you can build like a Facebook group or something like that, and people are just raving about this thing. And that's the kind of virtual effect that you have that's similar to if in person people were like, dude, you gotta go to this restaurant. You gotta check this thing out. You wanna go here. Like, this is amazing. That's really like word of mouth marketing. And in the olden days, that's kind of the only way that products got around, at least in the local community, right? Or if and you're using a handyman and like, this guy is insane, he does a super good job, or a great inspector if you're buying a house, right? And you recommend him to your friends, that's how he gets more business. So think of that as taking that experience online, and that's really where more of like a viral marketing campaign would come into play, when people are actually liking your posts, sharing them, commenting with their friends, dude, you gotta check this out, right? And that actually can also combine a bit with the paid marketing. So if you're running an ad, for example, on Facebook, that can also happen with your paid ads, which is super exciting. Other forms of organic marketing might be, for example, putting out, trying to reach out to journalists and influencers and get them to promote it in a more organic way, or getting them to review it and those kinds of things. Like, that's all organic marketing. It's really just based in your time. Are you willing to put in the time to promote your brand, promote your product, and also do offline things like even going to trade shows or going to events, or depending on the type of product you have, maybe go to like a farmer's market, right? Really depends on your product category. But I'd say those are the two main ways, is you're trying to just do everything possible to get that attention. You want people's eyeballs. You want them considering, curious, excited maybe even, and building that emotional base. Until you have someone's attention, you cannot influence that person. You must have someone's attention in order to be able to influence them. Think about different areas in your life. Maybe where you read a book that changed your life. In order to have that experience of like this life-changing aha moment, you gotta read the book, right? You gotta spend your attention and actually read it, consume it, think about it, learn, and then be like, oh, okay, I now see how I was thinking about this totally wrong, right? Or then you go and take some action, right? So in order for that to happen, that experience, you gotta have your attention, which is on the book, right? Same thing goes with buying a product. No one is just gonna walk into a store, not see a product, and then be like, I want that thing, right? Your eyeballs are first gonna go there. You're gonna look at it. Maybe you're gonna pick it up, try it out, right? Or something like that. Or talk about it with your friend, or consider it. Would I wanna buy this furniture piece in my house? How would it look? What about the dimensions? How does it feel? I'm gonna sit here, right? You're gonna try it out mentally before you buy it. And the same thing goes with these e-commerce products, man. So you wanna make sure you get people's attention, either using organic marketing or paid marketing. And that kind of leads me into my next step when it comes to the marketing strategy. So number one, brand building, right? You thought a tiny bit about that, but you haven't overthought it. You don't wanna overthink that, like I said before. Then attention, traffic. You've got an idea of like, okay, this is how I'm gonna get attention, this is how I'm gonna get traffic. Now is the next stage. And this next stage, I'm telling you, is gonna be the number one thing that's between you and success. The number one thing. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. So this number one thing that is between you and success, if this is a moat, this is the moat that you gotta canoe across, right? If this is a bridge, this is the bridge you gotta sprint across. If you're, I don't know, jumping into an ocean or something like that, or you're doing cliff jumping, this is the fear you gotta stomach before you jump off and are able to have that fun, cool, adventurous experience. And that is, you need to be aware of the term conversions. And here's why. And I'll kind of get a little bit more, just beyond that, like big, word, conversions. So you could have the incredible brand. You could have tons and tons of traffic. You even have, let's just say, millions of dollars to be able to keep sending traffic to your store and foot traffic and all that kind of stuff. But if only a small portion of people that go to the store buy, you're in trouble, man. You are in trouble, right? Because even if you do have the funding to keep sending people there, if only a small portion buy, at some point, the numbers are not gonna work in your favor and the scale is gonna tip. And all of a sudden, you're gonna be losing money in order to acquire a customer. And every single successful business has one golden rule. One golden rule. The cost to acquire a customer is less than the customer lifetime value. Now, that's kind of a little bit strange, right? Because we think sometimes people spend a lot to acquire a customer and the initial sale isn't that much. But if the customer lifetime value is more, then the business is always gonna grow. It's an investment at that point in time. If you're spending $1,000 over the lifetime of that customer, they're spending $5,000 with you, that obviously is an incredible investment. And that's really the next part of this marketing strategy, which is all about conversions, okay? So what is a conversion? A conversion is if I send, let's just say the physical store example, if I send 1,000 people, 1,000 individuals into your store, they're looking around, they're browsing around, they're checking things out, you know, they're window shopping, I like to use that word, how many of them actually make a transaction with you? And what is the average order value of that transaction? So let's just say you opened up a tiny little Etsy-esque store where you're just kind of selling like arts and crafts and handmade stuff, and you send 100 people to that store, and maybe you get like 10 buyers, right? And what is the order value of those people, right? So you can do this calculation. You want to literally get out Excel if you can, or just a yellow notepad if you want to, and begin to collect this data. And usually if you have an online store, that data is going to be provided, or you can at least find that data within your dashboard in general. So you're going to want to collect that data. And you're going to see, okay, when I send 100 people to the store, how many of them are converting into buyers? Of those buyers, what is the average order value? How much revenue are they actually bringing to my store? And that will give you some really vital information. So first of all, it's going to tell you, okay, if I continue to send this amount of people, this is what the order amount that I should expect. And that's going to inform your efforts when it comes to your paid marketing and your organic marketing. Are you doing this effectively or are you not, basically? And there are a few different questions that you're going to go through once you kind of discover this data. So the first thing you might think about is, am I sending the right people there? Right? So I like to kind of go through different KPIs with my own marketing, and I'll look at it and be like, okay, is this a good number or a bad number, right? If it's a bad number, why is that the case? What is the variable that is affecting this number, right? So for example, I'll just say the KPI, right? Let's assess and be like, okay, maybe this isn't in our best number. This isn't really the benchmark that we're going for. Let's assess, are we sending the right people to this store? So let's just say you do have that arts and crafts store, which is maybe aimed at middle-aged demographic, and most of the people that you're sending there are teenagers, and they're just kind of goofing around and looking at it and not buying anything. You have the wrong demographic. You're sending the wrong people. If you piled in more and more and more teenagers, it's not gonna matter, man. You're not gonna grow your sales that meaningfully, right? You might get some sales, but then if you, let's just say, have more of like a middle-aged demographic and people are there visiting and they have the money to spend and they really like some of the cute knickknacks that you have, they go into the store, they buy tons of it, right? Because they have the ability to, you're sending the right people there. So those are two different marketing strategies. And when you start to measure your conversion rates, that's really when you get to see that information and you're like, okay, maybe I'm sending the wrong people there. That's the first thing to be aware of, is like, who are the people that I'm sending to this actual store? Not just like the numbers, right? When it comes to online or digital marketing, because numbers are like, it's so esoteric, it's so abstract. Really think about these people as individuals. They have cell phones, they have laptops, they have bank accounts, they have families, they have friends. Maybe they go to a local church, right? These are real people that you are sending to the store. And if you're sending the wrong people, it's no different than if you sent them to a normal store and it's the wrong people, right? So first think about that when it comes to your conversions. And the next thing you're gonna start to think about is how good of a butterfly net did you construct? Or how good of a net did you construct if you're trying to catch fish, right? So let's just say you're a fisherman. You know, I've done fishing like once or twice in my life, but let's just say you're a fisherman, right? And you're catching fish with like this massive net, and your net is not as efficient as the guy down the street who's been doing this thing for 20 years, right? And he's looking at you and you're working super hard, you're going out there same time every day, and you're even working later into the night than he is trying to catch fish, and you never catch that many fish. It's just like, it's freaking frustrating. It almost reminds me of like in Forrest Gump, that movie, when Forrest Gump was trying to like catch fish and he was only getting like a couple of fish and all these other experienced fishermen were getting lots of them, right? And there was that big storm, and then, you know, made it a lot better for him after that. But anyway, so you're trying to catch fish with this net, and for whatever reason, it's just not very well constructed. Maybe there are holes in the net and fish are falling out of it, or it's just difficult and unwieldy for you to do it. Well, that's another issue when it comes to conversion, is that you might have great branding, you might be sending traffic, but the actual website or the pages on the website are not conducive to getting someone to purchase the product, whether it's because of the graphics, the video, the copywriting, it could be the offer itself, or they're getting confused and they're clicking around and there's too much information, right? They don't understand the value, the problem the product solves maybe, or the high level benefits or the functionality. They need more specs, or they're curious about shipping time, or they're wondering what is the return policy, right? There's all this information that you have to provide the customer in order for them to, number one, like dig what you're doing. Like they want this thing, it looks cool. Number two, that logically they're like, yeah, this is actually good value for money. This is a great deal. I think this makes sense. I'd be willing to trade my $100 for that, right? And then also like from a more technical perspective, they're like, okay, this is gonna get here then. This makes sense in terms of the specs. Okay, I got it. Sounds good. All right, I'm gonna make that purchasing decision. And when you make that purchasing decision, there's always a little bit of that anxiety people feel usually, but then there's an elation where it's like excited. You're excited to get this product in the mail. And then when it arrives, you can't wait to try it out, right? So there could be a breakdown in that experience, or that sequences of experiences where for whatever reason, you are just missing one component to get people to convert. And that's kind of the case usually when you're sending lots of traffic and you're sending the right people even, but for whatever reason, they're just not converting at a very good level. There's usually an issue with the marketing when it comes to the actual layout, the copywriting, the page, the video, those kinds of elements of the marketing need to be changed around a little bit. So this isn't just like you get one part of the process done and it works, right? This is like a system. And based on where the system is going wrong, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna tinker with that part of the system until it works. And then once you're getting maybe the traffic, then you start dealing with conversion. Or you're getting really good conversions, but your traffic sucks, right? So it's like, okay, how do we grow traffic to this thing? Then you're gonna figure out that little portion of the system. And if you do that, you're gonna have a well-oiled machine, and you got something where people are coming in the door, they're having a great experience when it comes to actually arriving on your site. They're buying it, they're getting it shipped to their door, they like the product itself, they're leaving good reviews, they're telling their friends, they're taking photos on Instagram, and because of that brand building experience, they almost feel like there's an emotion which is attached to your brand. And when you come out with new products, they're excited, they're freaking excited to buy it. Now this is a very broad, three-step framework, but if you follow this strategy, it's virtually impossible for you not to be successful when it comes to marketing, because it's the same strategy that every single product goes through out there. You gotta have attention. You gotta convert that attention into sales. And then you gotta take care of your customers, which is really where the real brand building happens, if you know what I mean. Unless someone has a really good experience with you, there isn't a relationship that has yet been built when it comes to brand building. So we've gone through the entire experience, right? The entire marketing plan. And I would urge you, if you can, to write this out, to get out a Google document. And I'll be honest with you, dude, I hate business plans. I don't want to write that kind of stuff down. Once I had people starting to work for me, I realized the value of communicating all the thoughts that I have in my head, right? But when you're just getting started, it's like, I don't want to waste time doing that, right? But it will help you. I'm serious. It will help you if you can begin to write down your marketing strategy, because then also people like myself can look over it and tell you where it's flawed, or maybe with a consultation be like, okay, you need to change this around, or you need to think more deeply about this, or based on your product category, this might not pan out for you, right? So you should have some kind of a working document, which is the marketing strategy, or consult with a marketing agency or a marketer like myself in order to help you get that going, right? But the other thing is how do you supercharge this process? And I'll be honest with you, so many people do not know about what I'm about to tell you. So listen up. This can literally save you so much time, energy, work, financial capital. What I'm about to tell you can literally change the trajectory of what you're doing when it comes to your online store. So what I'm referring to is getting introduced to Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Now, you might have heard of Kickstarter or Indiegogo before, but I promise you, you probably have not done the research there, because I'm telling you, so many projects nowadays are just literally blowing up when it comes to Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I got into the industry in 2012, and this is, to me, is the hallmark way to launch a new e-commerce product. And the reason is, number one, you're gonna get the funding that you need to pay for expensive things, whether that's mold or tooling costs or the initial product order. But even beyond that, getting the validation. One of the hardest parts, let's be honest, of launching a new product is, am I gonna sell this thing, right? So when you do a Kickstarter campaign, it's almost like you're getting instant validation. You're getting people who want to buy the product even before it comes out. And they're willing to wait 3 to 4 to 5 months in order to receive that product. That's insane. Think about that. In an Amazon society where people are expecting their products in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days max, right? For them to wait 3 months or more to get the product is like unheard of. So just the ecosystem itself also when it comes to Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and crowdfunding is phenomenal. There's a whole culture that's a part of it that's about supporting creative entrepreneurs just like yourself, product designers, engineers, etc. So it's a really great fit if you kind of want to be like, you know what, I want to launch this product, but I also want to make sure that people actually want to buy this thing, right? So that's a really great way to forecast demand. The other thing is, and the coolest thing in my opinion, is the fact that when you're preparing for a Kickstarter campaign, it compresses all of these things that you have to do into a very short time frame. Think about it. When you're doing a Kickstarter and you're running a campaign, number one, you gotta get a video together, so you gotta get some marketing materials there, you gotta get some graphics and photos of that product, you gotta finalize the design, right? You need to have those sketches, if you can, to tell a product story, and a little bit there, the iteration of the design, the story of how you came up with this incredible idea and the market opportunity you spotted, or maybe the problem in your own life that the product is designed to solve. And you can connect with real people in that way and have a community built around your product, which is freaking insane. Like, I think that's so cool that actually a community can exist around something that's a lot more commercial. Like, when have you ever heard of communities existing around products that you find in Target, right? Or you go to the mall. When have you ever heard of like communities existing around that? Aside from maybe Apple products, like I haven't really discovered too much of that, or if it's maybe like a well-known shoe brand like Supreme or something like that, right? A skater brand. Other than that, like that's very rare. So you're also gonna gather and attract a tribe of evangelists, a tribe of people, your people that are like you, that maybe love design or are also interested in this hobby, right? Or if it's like EDC or into the EDC movement, if you have an EDC product or something like that, everyday carry. So there's so many different benefits when it comes to it. And the other thing that's awesome is like when you're even getting ready for the whole Kickstarter campaign, there are tons of resources nowadays, like even my YouTube channel, I have tons of videos out there. I've written a book, the Kickstarter Launch Formula, teaching you how to actually do one of these campaigns. So it's not as intimidating as you might think, and the upside being that you get funding, that you're able to compress the timeline it takes to launch, that you're able to also get a river of traffic to that actual campaign, which builds the brand at the same time. People are gonna be Googling the name for your product, which is really exciting. And also, it's a marketing and brand building exercise where journalists, other people out there can write about your campaign if it starts to take off. If you're one of these campaigns I've documented on my podcast, I've done like, I think 300 episodes or more on my show, on iTunes, Spotify, published a version here. It's like, it's insane, it's crazy, just the number of people that are every single day seeing success on Kickstarter and are able to get funding, are able to grow their passion and come out with something that impacts people around the world. Like, there's more to it than just like wanting to be a store owner, right? What about making meaning? What about impacting people? What about someone around the world, on the other side of the world, having your product? Let's just say you've created like a lamp or something, and that becomes part of their room. I don't want to like oversell it, but it's almost like you're creating artwork that exists in people's homes. Like, obviously you don't think of a phone or a phone case as artwork, right? But then again, you had lots and lots of designers who worked on that, and now this is a part of my everyday life. We are living our lives in the creation of different product designers that are out there. Like, that's pretty deep, but think about that. It's so interesting. So anyway, if you'd like more information on Kickstarter, I have a great book out there, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, which I'll link up down below. Great place to get started if you're curious, or you can just subscribe to my channel and start watching more videos that I put out there on this topic. But I hope that this was helpful for you when it comes to thinking about a marketing strategy for e-commerce at a broader level. I want to put out more videos that are a little bit more tactical and nitty gritty, go more in depth into each of these. But if you did like this, you want more content like this, give me a thumbs up so that I know that that's the case. Leave a comment down below. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time, man.